everybody on YouTube, I'm ONH. Welcome to another episode of What's It Worth? And you can tell by some sweat and how red my face is that it is hot out there. It's like 90 climbing up to 100 with humidity. But is that going to stop me from doing the Jurassic Special? Hell no! Because after going up to Walmart and seeing they were busting out all the Jurassic World REBIRTH figures and the D-Rex sold out just as fast as it was put out, that shows I'm not the only one who's excited to see this movie. And that's exactly what I'm touching up on today, is the third installment, Jurassic Park 3. In need of money for his dig, Dr. Alan Grant agrees to be a tour guide for the Kirbys, planning on flying over Isla Sorna. But after their plane crash lands by a vicious Spinosaurus, Grant realizes that not everything and everyone is what they appear to be. As the Kirbys are trying to find their lost son, Grant attempts to find a way off Site B, while trying to survive a pack of evolved velociraptors hot on their trail. For the record, this is actually the first Jurassic Park I actually got to see in theaters as a kid, because I was old enough. I was in third grade when this movie was coming out, and I never knew they were making a third one until I saw the action figure line. So we finally saw it in theaters. I had a blast, except for a couple downer points. And then once we got on VHS, like, the more I watched it, I just hated it more and more. So Jurassic Park 3, it's got its mixed reviews. One half likes the movie, the other half not so much. And it's not just because it's a third chapter, but because there were some elements of the movie that some people were just not too happy with and just went, why? First example would be the Spino T-Rex fight, which was heavily advertised. Even I was like, I gotta see this. And then when you actually see it, this is what happens. I mean, seriously, you have to kill off the one dinosaur that everybody loved. And every time I watched it, it just pissed me off. And even now as an adult, it still kind of pisses me off. However, before you jump ahead, this is what I'm about to explain. According to the fossil record, the Spinosaurus is actually one of the few alpha predators in the fossil record that can actually overpower a T-Rex with little or no problems. So what happened in Jurassic Park 3 was pretty close to what would happen 65 million years before. But still, really? The second idea that a lot of people didn't like was, Alan Grant is the Raptor Whisperer? He can speak Raptor? Oh my god! Okay, now before you guys blow that idea out of proportion, I mean, yes, it appears sort of ridiculous, but here's the thing. After his experience with Jurassic Park, you would suspect that, you know, when he studied raptors further, he probably looked into pack hunter behavior and how they use sounds to communicate with each other, whether to call for help, call in reinforcements, to coordinate attacks, to distract their prey while the others come in for the kill. And the fact that he discovered a resonating chamber inside the velociraptor's skull that enables them to vocalize, he would draw the conclusion that not only were they super smart, but they would have become the dominant species. But yeah, that did kind of come off that Alan Grant psychically knew what these creatures were saying and what they're talking about, in which I think they should have maybe just a snippet where he looked further into pack hunter behavior, whether in books or documentaries, and that could have clarified, okay, so he did his homework. Third would be the Kirby family. I mean, they're all good actors, but it's the characters they were playing that were super annoying. Definitely the wife.
What?
Nobody wants to see annoying tourists who have no idea what they're doing, no survival skills. They bold-faced lie to Alan Grant about paying for his expedition. And they were just so full of shit, and they just got all these people killed. Like, I get it, they're trying to get their son back, but they should have at least packed more firepower and prepared themselves even more, especially with they have no idea with the dangers that are on Isla Sorna. And the one last thing that kind of ruined the movie for me, which I should have brought this up with the first Jurassic Park review, but I figured I'd bring this up now, was they have to throw in the dino turd scene. I never cared about that in the first Jurassic Park, but why in the third film? I get it, they needed to get their hands dirty to get their only source of communication, which is that satellite phone. But did they really have to make it that gross? So with the one side that didn't really care much for Jurassic Park 3, I could understand why they didn't like it. Even I was kind of in that group. But as I got old, I actually grew to appreciate the movie, and I became more forgiving with Jurassic Park 3. And that was because Jurassic Park 3 was trying to be different. They were trying to do something different with the franchise, but they were trying to expand the universe a little bit more, show you more dinosaurs, show you something new, something you haven't seen before, along with some familiar faces. And, you know, they didn't want to redo the same thing over and over and over again. With Jurassic Park 3, they finally introduced the Pteranodons, in which they were supposed to be in the Lost World. You only see them briefly at the end of the Lost World, and people were just wondering, where the hell are these creatures? In which it was like my dad's favorite dinosaur, and he loved the third film because of that. And how they pulled it off was really awesome. In which there are some snips where the Pteranodon is actually a guy in a suit, but they only used him briefly because the Pteranodons, it's like their body system is so complex that there was no way that a person can pull it off. Maybe briefly, but not for like the whole duration of the film. So of course they had to do the Pteranodons mostly in CGI. Their work with the Spinosaurus was awesome, in which it was the largest dino puppet they have ever created. I mean, the thing was so huge. And when you see it in the bonus features in front of the T-Rex animatronic puppet, it was like, damn. However, no doubt that when they decided to put the Spinosaurus in the rain in a huge, like, body of water, and he's just, like, thrashing his snout about in the water, Stan Winston just went, "Aah!" It's like, how many times do you have to torture that poor man by sticking these damn robots in water? Dinosaurs look badass, rained on and soaking wet. And not to mention, when the Spinosaurus was attacking the boat at the end of the film, it looked so terrifyingly real. That was the coolest thing with Stan Winston's work. I mean, yeah, he updated the hydraulics and everything, but what he was afraid of was just that amount of water crapping out the biggest puppet that they got. Congratulations, he pulled off his biggest achievement. Like, literally the biggest. And it was awesome. And speaking of the Spinosaurus, that creature was terrifying. It was just the scariest dinosaur. And there were some parts that it just kind of freaked me out in theaters, when it stomps on the one guy and eats like half of him. Then when it raises his jaw, he's got pieces of the guy in his teeth. It was like, But yes, it's very unforgivable. He kills the Rex in the first act of the film. So with the Velociraptors in the film, you kind of notice that they changed a little bit of their head design, where some of the Velociraptors have these little crests on their snouts, which they were kind of hinting that this next generation is supposed to be like an evolved breed, different from the Velociraptors we've seen before in the first two films. And you notice that some of them have quills or feathers on the back of their necks, which indicated they were evolving into more of the pure bred Velociraptor, rather than the ones that were bred in the labs. I guess as each generation is born, they evolve more into what the Velociraptors actually looked like in the fossil record, which I thought that was pretty cool. And it even shows how freaking intelligent they are when they set traps, communicate with each other. And it was like, it was almost scary just how smart they are. Okay, I mentioned before that the Spino T-Rex fight that just kind of pissed everybody off. This scene, I think they should have saved it for the end of the movie rather than the beginning of it. I get it, the Spinosaurus was supposed to be like the chief villain dinosaur, But I think killing off the Rex in the beginning was just a bad idea. Okay, I think the way it should be played out, it should be like this. Okay, the humans, they come across the T-Rex eating a Triceratops corpse, and then it chases the humans, but the humans manage to, like, evade his sight where the Rex can't see them. And then he walks off, and then it cuts to Grant punching Kirby. Fast forward all the way to after the raptors get the eggs from the humans. Then they should have had the Spinosaurus appear out of nowhere to go after the humans again. Only this time the Rex comes along like they just cross paths out of pure accident. And that's when they start fighting each other, buying the humans to get away. And that's when you could actually show the Spinosaurus killing the T-Rex. Not out of heroism, but more like out of dominance. I mean, if they had just played it out like that, I think it would have been better. Though, if they did do that, it would be cool that they could have extended it where the Spinosaurus tries going after the humans by going in the water and swimming after them. Kind of like what he did on the boat scene. Now, with this movie, I thought it was cool. They bring back the original Alan Grant. They bring back Ellie Sattler. It shows like how their lives kind of changed after the events of the first film. And how they're no longer together. Ellie's married with kids. And Grant's just kind of, he's still digging fossils to kind of cope with the fact that he's alone again. And he's also got his helper, Billy, in which it's such a shame. I haven't seen that guy in any other film other than Kraven the Hunter. And of course, you got, you know, Tia Leone playing as Mrs. Kirby, the husband, William H. Macy, one of the pilots, Udesky, played by Michael Jeter. It was terrifying when the Velociraptors, like, cornered him, made him paralyzed. And I remember my parents had to cover my eyes in theaters. And I'm like thinking, oh god, this thing's gonna rip his head off. And it turned out the raptor snapped his neck. Still freaked me out. I mean, the actors just did their parts, and they did such an amazing job. Even though the Kirbys were annoying, that's the characters they were meant to play as. So, and yes, this is the one Jurassic Park where they branched away from the books, and Michael Crichton doesn't really have any involvement. Spielberg steps out of the director's chair, but has Joe Johnston, who directed Jumanji, and he later becomes the director of The Wolfman, Captain America the First Avenger. He took up his directorial debut for Jurassic Park 3, and I think he did an excellent job, and he's very good with it. What I loved about Joe Johnston's movies was the atmosphere of his films, how he makes everything kind of smoggy and just like very atmospheric. But then again, what do you expect from the guy who actually designed a lot of the original ships, including the Millennium Falcon from the original Star Wars trilogy? So where do I rate Jurassic Park 3? I'm going to give this a solid almost full price rating because I appreciated the idea that this was a Jurassic Park film that was trying to be different, and they were trying to introduce something new to expand the lore even further. Okay, so I am done reviewing Jurassic Park 3, moving on to Jurassic World, and I'm so freaking excited to see Jurassic World. I bet you are. Get your tickets, because I bet they're selling out real quickly. I noticed there's actually some countries where the movie's coming out sooner than expected. So if you're excited about it, put it in the comments below. Please subscribe. I'm Owen H. See you in the next episode.